Hello, everybody. I'm Marc Glimcher. I'm the CEO, I guess, of the Pace Gallery. I go by Untitled usually, but no, we're very happy to finally, officially be opening our gallery and joining the community here. And our goal is to bring the most important contemporary voices working today to Japan. In the international art world. And Maysha Mohamedi is that. She is one of the most important, groundbreaking abstract painters working today, with great interest in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, many museum shows, museum acquisitions, and we're so excited about her work, about how it carries on and breaks new ground in the world of abstract painting, that we thought no better way to begin our program than with Maysha. So there you go.
Thanks,
that's my introduction. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you for seeing my show and coming to the talk. I'm kind of overwhelmed. So I guess quick bio about me. I was born in Los Angeles. My parents are from Iran. And I originally studied a totally different topic. I was a scientist. And I always wanted to be an artist. So I started painting about 17 years ago. And I actually lived in Japan for one summer. I lived in Wakoshi. So I already met one person today who's from Wakoshi. So that was really cute and exciting. So Marc didn't know that about me when he asked me to do this show. And so I lived here exactly 20 years ago when I was 24 years old. And it's really special to be back here with my husband and my children. And I thank you for this opportunity to show these paintings.
The gallery couldn't be more beautiful than with these paintings in it.
And I saw her painting here, and the image on the canvas was an abstract work, of course, of colorful surface and thin line drawings. It was an extremely unique image. Her paintings are extremely delicate and yet evocative of the line of the artist. If the source of your painting is your thoughts and feelings from your memory of a certain period of time, you have expressed this in your own vocabulary, your own style of painting. Therefore, I was initially very interested in what the subject matter of your paintings and her technique at the same time. And this exhibition has a very, very interesting title. Yesterday, I was a tiny tube of tooth flight. Very funny at the same time, very interesting, of course. At first, I would like to know the title meaning for your this exhibition at the same time yourself.
So when the gallery told me about this show, I went back and read my diary from when I lived here 20 years ago. And it was filled with all the topics you would expect in a diary of a 24-year-old young woman. And it was wonderful to read and difficult to read. And I actually wanted to edit the diary with the idea of maybe publishing it. So I worked with a poet named Miles Champion. And we had a lot of fun editing this diary. And one thing that he did for me is he actually created a series of haiku that were pulled from found phrases inside the diary. And we never ended up doing anything with the haiku, but I picked out phrases as some of my titles for the paintings. And so this is a sentence fragment from my diary that was in one of the haiku. Yesterday, I was a tiny tube of toothpaste. And he got that from a passage I had written about a small toothpaste I saw in the store. Because at that time, hotels, like in the United States, they didn't have those. I think now everyone has those, but I just thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And so I wrote a whole paragraph about it in my diary. And in the diary, I also think about the future a lot. I'm imagining, who will my husband be? How many children will I have? Will I ever get to create art? What am I supposed to be doing in this world? You know, all the questions a young person asks themselves. And so I think there was this idea of looking back to yesterday. So that all came together for the title.
And who decided this notebook?
So Maysha has a very unique approach to painting. And her sketchbooks, which I'll let her describe, are a very important part of the process. But I'd ask you, as we hear from Maysha, maybe about her process and the sketchbooks, imagine that an abstract painting is a distillation of feelings, ideas, just like a haiku is a distillation. And Maysha has a way to approach this. And these are parts of rules that allow her to create a new language that we really then all can learn to read. So maybe, Maysha, you can describe both the steps of how the color process occurs and how that title is a kind of door into an initiating experience.
I never really actually thought this was important. I really, in the beginning, started mixing the color for my paintings because I didn't want to be bothered with that while I was making the painting. The most important part for me and the most exciting part is actually touching the canvas and drawing on the canvas. So it was really irritating to stop and mix color. So I started mixing it before the painting even started. And I've always collected vintage material like books, cookbooks, stationery, other envelopes from the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. I love those colors. And I think maybe it's because I was born in 1980, so maybe those are the colors where I was formed, you know. So for every painting, I cut out an image that I like. And in this case, it's a little light switch, and it has these dog stickers on it. And then I usually select maybe 5 to 7 colors. And then I come up with the formula for the color. Usually it consists of several paint tubes. And then I have this, just in case I run out, I can remix it. So I was making these for each painting sort of as a way to initiate the painting and start it. And then I usually come up with some kind of idea or experience, and then it kind of fuses with the color, and I start the painting.
That to say, it is a source of your painting. And how many notebooks like this?
How many notebooks?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have so many. It's like the entire shelf in the top of my garage is filled with these.
When I got into the studio and started to see this process, it is a kind of alchemical process, not a chemical process. Sort of magical mixture, cookbook, part diary, and you know, we when you sit with the notebook, Maysha might have this cut out newspaper. It's taped into the notebook. You can feel the urgency of getting to the painting. And I said, everybody's got to see this. And she said, you're crazy. She said, no. You know, nobody needs to see this. This is all behind the stage. But I kept thinking, this is something people need to see. And I was right. So
He was right.
he was right.
Before you do the painting, you refer to these.
Yes, so before the painting starts, this is established. So every painting has 2 pages, the source imagery and then the breakdown of the colors. That's set in stone. And also the idea behind the painting is set in stone. So I'll determine those two things and then maybe just sit with the blank canvas for maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and just let it sort of start to tell me what it's going to be like, the painting.
I see. And now the exhibition, there is the same title painting
Yes.
in the wall.
Yes.
It is from this sources from this.
So all 13 paintings in the show are in the notebook, which you can purchase at pacepublishing.com.
It is better, of course. You have received a Bachelor of Science in 2002 from University of California, San Diego, where you studied, you researched cognitive science, specialized in neuroscience. And in 2011, you earned a Master of Fine Art in Painting from the California College of Arts in San Francisco. I would like to know what happened between to your mind during this time between 2002 and 11.
What happened to my mind?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think
All want to know that.
fortunately I have it all written in the diary, so I was able to go back. But a few things happened. One, I was getting deeper into my scientific career. I had started a PhD program, and I was very proud of that, but I secretly hated it. I didn't care about the questions I was asking. And when I saw the people around me, including the people I worked with in the laboratory in Wakoshi, brilliant minds, completely motivated by a question that they cared about. And I knew I deep down didn't care about science in that way. And so I never thought I could do a good job about something I didn't care about. And some people are just like that, and I knew that about myself. And I asked myself, what do I care about? And the answer was myself. So I just wanted to understand myself and understand myself in the world. And I thought being an artist would help me explore that.
Just to say, as you now explained, during your scholarship years in Japan, that to say it's 20 years ago, in Japan, in Wakoshi, you started to thinking about the painting. And before that, for example, you were, for example, high school age or elementary school age, etc. In that years, you were interested in some painting, etc.
I mean, I was always good at drawing, but I just had this idea about what it meant to be an artist because I didn't know anyone personally who was an artist. I just knew Hollywood movies. So anyone who's an artist is like a drunk and like horrible and poor. And I'm an only child, so I didn't want to do that to my parents. So I literally didn't know you could be an artist and have a good life. So that's why I pursued science. But then when I got here, I decided I'm totally anonymous. Nobody knows who I am. And my environment, even though it's so stimulating in Tokyo, I didn't understand my environment. So it was an opportunity for me to pretend I was an artist and practice calling myself an artist. I had an amazing experience because I worked in this laboratory and my experience was sponsored by the US government and the Japanese government. So I was completely taken care of. And I had people very invested in sharing Japanese culture with me. So I think I got a very rare and special experience because of that.
When you back to United States, of course, you entered to the art school, of course. In that years, you learned from other artists, etc., no?
My motivation to become an artist was not because I love art necessarily. It's because I had something in me, in my body that needed to get out of my body. And I think some people can do this through singing or poetry or a variety of different expressions. So, and I also had this very romantic idea that I might be able to create something original. And obviously, from the beginning of being an artist, everyone tells you, no, you can't. You can't make anything original, but I always held on to that. So I think I thought if I looked at things, it would hurt that ambition. So I've always kept myself sort of isolated from distraction.
How did you come to take an interest in her?
Everyone took a great interest in Maysha about 3 or 4 years ago. After some exhibitions at her Los Angeles gallery. And many of the large galleries went rushing to her studio when people started to see the work. And, you know, we come and we try to explain why our gallery would be best. And so Maysha had a lot of people coming to visit her. And I am also a failed scientist, just like Maysha. And so we also, neither of us finished our PhDs. We both started them and didn't finish them. And we both realized that our destiny was art, even though we had a great love for science. So we connected. We connected from those experiences. And, you know, I think that connection between the gallerist and the artist, that kind of a deep personal connection, is what's necessary for us, for the art dealer to do their job, is to really feel it and really be able to get into the artist's mind and studio and help everybody else do the same thing. We have several traditions of art that we work with at Pace Gallery, but the best known is our work with you know, artists like Calder and Rothko. Artists who attempt to reach the kind of universal truth through a language of abstraction, which is used as economically as possible, with the least necessary elements to transmit the most profound message. So this is something that now for 2 generations, and there's another generation back there that's taking over of great gallerists. This is something that we have been deeply involved with, from artists like Mark Rothko to artists like Liu Fan, to the younger generation of artists like Maysha, who are trying to find that way to communicate something absolutely universal without relying on the imagery that we see around us every day. Trying to find the imagery that exists inside of us. And, you know, Maysha and I discuss it from also a scientific perspective. We're able to think about, you know, what are the patterns in our minds? These artists, I was saying to Maysha earlier today, are like intuitive neuroscientists, because they are assembling colors and forms that are going to trigger a kind of response, a cascade of responses in your brain that starts to connect people together. You know, we've just opened a Rothko show in Seoul, which was curated by Mr. Lee, by Liu Fan. And so we have a small room of Rothkos. And of course, there was a huge Rothko exhibition at the Louis Vuitton Foundation. And when people come into a Rothko show, they're not just coming there because, oh, the paintings are so expensive or the paintings are so famous. You can put many different kinds of people in front of the painting, and you see in their face something's happening inside. There is something being triggered in their mind, in their soul, that you can look at the person next to you and say, you know, I'm feeling it too. You know, like love. This is something you can share. You can't touch it. You can't get it into a test tube. You can't, necessarily explain it in words. But there is something these artists are able to map. They're mapping something inside your brain. And when we walked into Maysha's studio, the group of us looked at each other like, are you feeling it? And they're like, I'm feeling it too. I mean, this is the magic of art, is that there's something on the wall. I can't explain exactly what it is, but I know I'm feeling something, and I know everyone is having this experience as well. And so that is very much in the core of Pace Gallery. And when you find a young artist who's able to find a new way that we hadn't seen before to get back to this kind of experience, it's very exciting. And so we did a song and dance.
Yeah. Thank you very much. But nowadays, of course, the Pace Gallery is very well known regarding the abstract painter. Of course, there's so many. For example, Geneva, etc., and the younger generation, etc. But for the first exhibition, for the Pace Gallery Tokyo, why have you elected the Maysha for the opening?
Well, of course, our first exhibition was Calder. We felt like, and the purpose of that Calder show was to illustrate that there was a connection. There are these kinds of connections that exist, that Japanese aesthetic history, which we believe is integral to the entire history of modern and contemporary art, that there would not be this kind of abstraction without the hundreds of years of investigation into the Japanese aesthetic, that we thought it was very powerful to draw that connection, and that our artists were very capable of doing it. The story of Calder, who had never been to Japan, but who all you have to do is walk through that exhibition to see that he was getting to the same source, the same deep truth that great Zen brush painters or incredible Zen gardens, getting to the same place. So yes, Maysha, we believe that, I said earlier today, a kind of calligraphic discipline of her work, where she creates these forms and images through this calligraphy of the mechanical pencil, and repeats them, and creating in a kind of language, we thought, again, on a very contemporary scale, showed also this connection between this incredible aesthetic history and the artists working in our gallery. So, we wanted to show the old and the new, that, many generations back, the generation that's working right now, and there was just no one better to show that than Maysha.
And regarding the abstraction painting, do you have some strategy for the future? Do you have some thinking about for the Japanese audience at the same time in your country and for the European, etc. For the abstract, because the abstraction painting situation is now is completely different from the 60s, 70s. Probably in our country it is same thing. But nowadays, of course, abstract painter is very, very important. Probably in your gallery you have some purpose for the future. Probably, if you have, please explain that.
Well, I don't know. I never have too much of a strategy. You just have to kind of follow the artists. Our strategy is that we have the job of representing these incredible artists, and they inspire us, and they inspire our program. And we need to kind of, I think we walk into the artist studio, we all see something amazing, and then we have all these incredible teams around the world, and the connections are very organic. And so we kind of will let it unfold. And not, it's not about, you know, the Japanese audience is here to see all the great art we can possibly bring. What we're here to do is get back from that Japanese audience a new vision, a new response, incredible artists who are working here. Of course, we work with some incredible Japanese artists like Team Lab and Yoshitomo Nara and Kohei Nawa, and we have that interchange, the same thing that Maysha saw when she lived here. We hope that comes into our family and makes it richer.
We prepare some paintings from this exhibition, so that please, if we could, we would like to hear from you.
This painting is called Paperback Writer, which is a Beatles song. And when I was making this painting, I was trying to make the decision of whether I was going to publish my old diary into a book or not. And I was really struggling with that decision because the diary was very personal, but I also felt it was so important to help people understand what motivates me. So when I was making this painting, I was thinking a lot about that. And during the course of making this painting, I decided not to publish the diary. And I decided to put another wish or desire into the painting. So there's a certain percentage of paintings that I make that I put a wish into it for something that's deeply important to me to come true. And my husband, who's sitting there, is a writer. And so I made the decision that when I show this painting, there will be good energy put onto him for his writing pursuits. And whenever I make a wish in a painting, it always comes true. So
Thank you.
there are two very large paintings in the show, and this is one of them. It's called Pseudonym. When I was in the process of editing the diary, and I thought I was going to publish it, I have a lot of names of people who I met during my time living here. A lot of Japanese people and other students, American students. So when I was working with the editor, we went through the process of determining pseudonyms or replacement names for the people in the diary. So in the United States, the Social Security website shows you the most popular names by birth year. So we laughed so hard looking at these names from 1980, from that time, to determine replacement names that felt like these individuals that I knew. So I wanted to make a painting about that.
And I thought this painting, you know, was particularly, there are always pairs of images in the paintings, but I thought these pairs were particularly challenging to each other, the pairs of images. And there's a kind of fierce energy to it, but they do seem to be toying with identity, or I felt that to me. This version of myself, or that version of myself. But I just made that up too.
Yeah,
you know,
that sounds good.
it's okay. It's okay to make the stuff up.
This is the second large painting in the show. It's called Baby's Breath. It's the first painting I made for this show, and I always like to start a new body of work with a painting that feels very innocent to me, to sort of bless the whole show. And I usually use a range of subject matter and emotive content to create my paintings, from very dark to buoyant to intense to light, humorous. But I like to start the show with like a more neutral, innocent painting. And Baby's Breath is one of my favorite flowers. Kyoko translated it for me I forgot what is it? Okay, I can't hear, but anyways. So baby's breath is a very, very small white flower. It's kind of cheap. They use it as filler flower, but I always loved that flower, and it feels very innocent to me. And one fun fact about this painting is I thought it was finished and I had it photographed, but I could tell something was missing. And my 8-year-old son was in the studio with me, and he asked if he could mix paint. And he mixed this beautiful, beautiful leafy green. And this is a color I never would have mixed. That's not a color that feels easy for me. Yeah. And when I saw that color, I realized that's the missing piece. So anything you see that's this really bright green, and his name is Wolf, so he called it Wolf Green. So he contributed to this painting. And then it was finished.
At last, please comment to Japanese audience for yourself at the same time, for your exhibition.
Well, anything I do in life, I'm just looking for a way to go deeper into my work. And I don't know how, but I really hope this experience challenges me somehow. And hearing the reaction and the reception of the work, whatever it is, positive, negative, I'm really hoping that cracks something open for me further. And I really appreciate your attention and focus on what I'm doing. And thank you to Marc as well.